Joining us this morning, Titania Jordan.
Tatiana Jordan. Did I get the name right? Jordan?
Titania.
Titania. Okay. All right.
It's Titania Jordan. So I'm here with Dominique Wilkins, which is like crazy, mind-blowing as an Atlanta native. Growing up, proud to say I knew you when.
Yeah, this is a long time.
Well, you know, time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
You speak to a lot of people. There's a lot of people that want something from you. They want your time, they want your attention, they want your intros. How do you stay focused and positive and upbeat with so many people wanting so many things from you?
You know, I'm pretty much a people's person, so I pretty know how to handle myself in certain situations, you know, when it comes to people. You know, and giving is good.
Yes.
Giving is very good, and that's why I'm so excited about what myself and Don Barton has created, you know, here at 3CI and our partnerships and some of the things we're doing. And it's all about helping people be something better and learning how to give to that next generation of kid who strives to be something bigger. So giving is good, as long as it's giving in the right way.
That's right, that's right. So are you able to talk about and give us the inside scoop of what you and Don are working on?
We're working on some really, really great stuff. So we don't want to, you know, let the cat out of the bag yet.
Okay.
You know, but I tell you this: what we're trying to do is create. We are creating a platform that gives people a chance to be something bigger than themselves. Because a lot of times in life, you know, people make it about who you are, but you got to start making about who the people you're trying to engage, the people you're trying to teach how to be better people, better servants, you know, giving back to special causes, but more importantly, creating what you do now dictates who you become in the future. And if you want to be someone who's bigger than yourself as far as giving,
yes,
there are certain little steps you have to take to get to the level, and you got to be around people who are willing to show you and teach you how to be that type of individual. Because anybody can create a brand, they can create themselves, but how can you help create the next person who strive to be something great, who don't have the avenues or the options to engage themselves in? How do we help that person teach himself how to be better than who you are as an individual? Because I've always been a person who's given back. I've sat on many boards as far as charity, from spinal bifida to diabetes to American Heart Association, Lung Association. So I've been engaged with a lot of different organizations. Special Olympics is another one that I really cherish. So again, I feel like when you give, you get it back even bigger.
That's right, and it sounds like you guys are going to help people tap into their unique abilities, and when you can help people find that inner thing that sets them apart.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, helping people tap into their inner abilities, abilities that they don't know they have, until someone can help pull that out of them. Then they realize, you know what, I didn't know I had this in me, or I didn't know I could do this, but I really like and I love who I am and what I'm able to do, not just to help me, but help others help themselves. So, you know, that's the unique ability we have here, is to get those abilities out of those people who didn't know they even existed.
Get them out of their comfort zones.
Get them out of that box, you know,
yes.
Let them think, you know, being a person who think outside the box, you know, being creative. And that's what we want. We want the creative thinkers and people who have those creative minds that can help us, even things that we don't know, you know, that they may be better than us at. So, you know, to bring all that together as one, to build a much bigger platform so people can use.
So you've been around the world, you've seen things, you've met people, you've reached a certain level that some people will never get to achieve. Given the vast resources at your disposal and your amazing network, how do you stay motivated? What inspires you?
Well, when I was younger, I had a gentleman when I was 12. He said, I want you to come over to the boys club. Back then it wasn't the Boys and Girls Club, it was just the boys club. He said, I want you every day. I'm going to teach you how to play the game, and I'm going to teach you the right way. He said, you're going to owe me. And I'm 12. I didn't know what that meant. And he said, the only thing I want from you is to give to someone else what I'm about to give to you. So that helped me build the courage to leave home when I was very young. I've been on my own since I was 16 years old. So it was that interaction with that individual that gave me that confidence and courage. And so I've always been a kind of a focused guy. I've always been a kind of committed guy, because when I was growing up, people used to tell me I would never be anything. But I used to use it as fuel to prove them wrong.
That's right.
And the same people said, well, I knew you'd be a Hall of Famer one day. But you know, nothing answers those questions like success.
Yes.
And so you have to be willing to put your time in, put your work, make sacrifices to get there, because it's not easy. And
No,
it's not going
not.
to come to you. You know, you got to be willing to go out there and get it. But more importantly, you got to be driven. You got to be tough. But more importantly, you got to be willing to listen. And if you're not willing to listen, it's not going to work.
So, you know, everybody sees the highlights of your life and the ups, but everybody goes through downs, whether you're the president or the janitor. Talk about when times are hard. How do you get out of them?
When times are hard, the worst thing you can do is stay in that mindset that, why is this happening to me? Now you got to step back and go, okay, I'm going through a tough moment. Okay, what can I do to get me back on the right track? And you got to start doing things from a positive standpoint, and not keeping yourself down in that barrel where you feel you are right now. So you got to be willing to, to step back and take a breath. You got to be able to breathe. Let's breathe a little bit. And now you got to rethink your steps, rethink your thoughts. But you got to come from a positive standpoint. And it takes one step at a time. When you try to do it all at once to try to fix the problem, you can't fix the problem.
No.
Because I tell kids all the time, I said, look, if you want to be great at something, you got to pick one or two things, and you perfect those one or two things until it becomes something that you created. And then you go on to two separate things. The thing that kids do wrong today, or people, is try to work on 20 different things at once. How can you perfect one? This don't work.
That makes sense.
No.
So, how old is your youngest child?
My youngest is 9.
9, okay. So I have an 8-year-old, so we're on that same path of, our children have devices and access to a world that we couldn't dream of. I was lucky if my television could get a certain cable station if I turned the knob and had like that hanger antenna correct.
I had that too.
Yeah. Whole different level.
Before you had some black and white television, even before you. But I understand. But I think of the distractions that kids have today really takes them away from a physical aspect. And I think kids need to get more physically active.
Absolutely. They need to get in the woods.
That's why we have the obesity problem in this country. Because our kids have too many distractions that keep them from outside. When I was growing up, we couldn't come in the house before 4 o'clock. They used to come back at dinner time. We don't see you until then. Because they didn't want you stuck in the house all the time doing nothing.
No.
And so my kids only have 2 hours to play their video games, and then they got to find something else to do.
Something else.
Because they're not going to stay in the house and play video games all day.
Nope.
Because you don't serve the right purpose for them. And so you start to create a trend for them where it's going to be hard to break if you don't stop it now.
Yeah.
And the same thing with eating. What these kids eat, that make them obese. And the unwillingness to make lifestyle changes. But it ain't the kids' fault.
No.
That's our fault.
It's our fault.
And so we have to take responsibility for that.
That's right. How do you try to impart into your children and the community that does have so much privilege, reality? Like my child doesn't know hunger. He doesn't know discomfort. He has a bed to sleep in. So there's a level at which he is just spoiled because of his environment. But I'm trying to teach him, not everybody's life is like this, and you better be grateful.
Well, the problem is the young people today have that entitlement attitude. And we as parents supposed to give it to them instead of them earning it.
Yeah.
And so, we got to get back to being a parent first, friend second.
Yes.
And that starts with putting the right structure in place, be it what they eat, what they do as far as, activity, education. You know, you can't expect the kid to do everything on his own at that age. You know, you give them tools to use, and at a certain point in their life, ultimately it's up to them what they do.
That's right.
But it's up to us to teach. I'm not here to be my kid's friend first. I'm here to be their parent first.
Yep.
And their friend second.
Yep.
And I think that's where we get it really mixed up, because, you know, a lot of times you wait for a community or other people to raise your kids to be that role model. What the role model comes with inside, because my mom was my biggest role model, because she's raised 8 kids by herself. That's very difficult. It couldn't be done today. Can't be done today. But again, it taught me structure. So I've always been a structured person.
That's wise. That's very wise insight. You know, one of my favorite speakers and pastors, Andy Stanley, preached a sermon once about how later is longer. You know, the first 20 years of your life with your child is so much shorter compared to age 20 to 80, hopefully, if you live to 100. And so, you know, you can be their friend later, but the first 20 years, like, you have to be their parent. And it's good advice, I think.
Oh yeah, you know, it was a poem I used to have to say in high school called "Don't Quit." You know, it talked about some of the poem where, you know, when things are hard in life, or when things go wrong in life, how, you know, you want to cry but you have to sigh, and it talks about when things are tough, rest if you must, but you should never quit. A lot of times when people are faced with those type of obstacles, what is the first thing they do? They shut down and try to wait for somebody else to solve their problem for them. And so I've always learned that poem when I was in high school. I hated it because I didn't really understand what it meant. But as I got older, I realized what it meant, and it motivated to push me over and over again. And that's why we was 76-1 in 3 years in high school. Because he said the trade-off is if I can push you to work as hard as you can work, because I'm only going to push you to the level you can go, that's going to make you more successful. So it was a great trade-off. That hard work won back-to-back titles. So, you know, it paid off.
Go on, brush your shoulders off.
It wasn't all me. And we had a great team. You know? Had a great high school team. Yeah. But it was a fun ride.
That's awesome. You do so much to help the people around you, the community, the world. But there are people out there watching that want to give back to you and help you. So tell us, what are you working on these days that everybody out there could pour into and help support your efforts?
Well, you know, the charitable side is something that I'm definitely passionate about. I do diabetes awareness programs all around the country. That's a calling for me. It's a passion. Also with, you know, the stuff with spinal bifida, because my youngest kid had spinal bifida in a wheelchair. And so from the charitable standpoint, those are things that I'm even getting more involved in and more, going to be more impactful in my life because of what my daughter's gone through. But, you know, from a business side, you know, what Don Bart and I are doing as far as, you know, creating, you know, business platforms for other people. But more importantly, just continuing to grow the brand, the Dominique Wilkins brand.
Dominique Wilkins brand. Tell us your website.
Well, the website, you know, I'm still kind of, you know, we're trying to see which one we want to use right now.
That's fine.
So again, we got some surprises, so don't push me too quick.
Okay. You know what?
All right.
This is your world.
Yeah.
We're just trying to play in it. Keep up.
Hey, there you go.
Dominique, it is always a pleasure to be able to spend time with you, hear the wisdom that you impart, and I hope to see a lot more of you and keep learning from you.
Well, you will, and you will. We're doing some really cool, creative stuff here at 3CI, so stay tuned. It's going to be some fun stuff coming.
You hear that, everyone? Stay tuned. More coming. Thank you, Dominique.
You're welcome.